Hi, welcome to the Mountain Valley News Sports Show. I'm Logan Wright, this is Coach Butch Cassidy, and this is Coach Terry Mitchell. And on this episode, we're just going to discuss a little bit about the DeKalb County Tournament and the history of the tournament and just really all about the tournament. So is there anything y'all want to start us off with, a little something from the history or something a lot of people wouldn't know out there?
I guess we better start off with some ground rules because Coach Cassidy and I are so old we can't go over because we have to go to the restroom every so often. So it will be a limited show.
All right.
And if Coach Mitchell gets long, punch me because I may take a nap.
It'll be all right. We'll wake you up.
My wife said I talked too long the last time, and I didn't think I did. She said, well, yeah. She said, well, you really didn't, but you know when they say you didn't.
Yeah, they don't want to hurt your feelings.
Yeah, so I did. But I will again, so I don't care.
Hey, that's fine with me.
I did call the State Athletic Association today, and the miracle in that is that they took my call.
Really?
Because for years they would not take my call. It seemed like everybody down there was at lunch. But I talked to Greg Brewer and asked him how many county tournaments were still going on because back in the 50s, there were only two classifications. And so you can imagine how difficult it was to win a state championship. And the county championships were so big, but schools also, because of the way we're such a rural society, that the schools were generally the same size, and the county tournaments were so big in each area, but because of the big schools mixing with little schools now, a lot of them come. And Greg said we have 67 counties, and he said there might be even less than 30, but he thought somewhere around 30, 32 still had tournaments. He mentioned ours. And Cullman, and one other that were really standout tournaments still. But I thought that was really good. And I really think, just from coaches I talked to and see, that DeKalb County has one of the best tournaments in the state.
Yeah, every coach I've talked to has always said that the DeKalb County tournament is up there with the top notch of any tournaments. Especially, I think it has a lot to do with the rivalries. And like you said, yeah, a lot of our schools are the same size around here. I mean, we have some 2A and some 3A, but other than that, I mean, they're separated by what, like a couple hundred students per school?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not much.
Well, it's like you said, the rivalry of the local school. In Jackson County, we had a good tournament, but it was so spread out that the kids never saw each other, except at tournament time. You know, they didn't play ball in the summers together, and like they do in DeKalb County, because Sylvania, Plainview, Fife, they're really one group of kids. And so I think that's what makes DeKalb County special. It's just, you want to beat somebody.
Your friend.
Yeah.
Well, this is something we talked about on the last show. A lot of people, they get to see the angrier side of the coaches in this tournament because you always want to beat your rivals. But a lot of people don't realize what good friends all these coaches are and how well they talk after the game and stuff. But I thought that was an interesting fact that we named last time. But
talking about friends, coaches, Coach Mitchell and I played at Pisgah one time, played in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. And I think we won 97-94 in double overtime or something. But when it was over, there was a newspaper man standing talking to me, asked him questions. Coach Mitchell came up and we started talking. And I said, why don't we take our wives over to Huntsville and eat tonight? And he couldn't believe that. He said, y'all have just got through playing each other and you want to go out. And, they don't know that you separate your friendship from coaching. Yeah. Now, we weren't friends when we were coaching, but afterwards we were.
Something Coach Cassidy and I used to do is we would play one time a year at school. And I would take my kids up there at 8 in the morning, and coach would assign them a player, and they'd go to class with those boys all day. And then they'd come to Plainview and do the same thing. And those kids, that now 35, 40 years later, are still good friends. Yeah. And, Coach Cassidy, some of the boys called me because I threw some of my players under the bus last time, so I'll throw Robert Ellis under the bus this time. But we were playing during school up there, and there was 30 seconds to go, and we had a 2-point lead maybe, but the scoreboard at Pisgah back in Cooley Gym used to be kind of behind the goal on the home side, visitors end. And we threw the ball into Robert. Robert looked, and it was 30 seconds to go, but all he could see was the 3, and he thought it was 3 seconds to go. So he draws back and throws it, which Pisgah is really surprised at this. And they catch it, go into overtime, and we wound up and get to beat. And then we'd borrowed Broadway's church fans, had flat tires on the way home. So it was such a happy experience for me. And,
Yeah, definitely. That sounds like
still
one of
mad
those
at Robert
books.
about it, too.
Was that the time you broke your toe kicking the
It
garbage
was,
can?
yes.
We had a garbage can in the visitors' dressing room that
With
always
a
got
stainless
knocked
steel
over.
liner, which that should have been
Yeah, and,
advertised.
the kids knock it over, so I put a concrete block in the bottom of it so it wouldn't turn over. Well, Mickey Willingham came out after the game and he said, "Coach Cassidy, don't go around Coach Mitchell." I said, "Why? Why shouldn't I go around Coach Mitchell?" He said, "He kicked that can and I think he's broken his foot."
Swelling didn't last.
Yeah.
Bad.
Well, back to the tournament deal.
So that was why we.
Yeah, I think it was
we
something
warned
like
you
that.
about this.
So what's it like to coach in a county tournament?
Well, we talked last week about Sand Mountain Tournament was fun.
Mm-hmm.
This one's not fun. This one you want to win. You want to beat your buddy, and these kids want to fight each other a little bit. I think this one, and it's getting close to the area, so I think the teams are getting tuned up and ready to play in the area, and I think you're going to see everybody fight to try to win this game.
It is. It becomes pressurized. The county tournaments, by the time Coach Cassidy and I started coaching in the 70s, they were still that intense. And I think DeKalb County is a little bit different because of the 8 school lineup. Now, when I was in school at Pisgah in high school, if you could get a bye over there, a lot of times you didn't have but maybe one really tough game, which would be in the finals. But now you can get you don't get byes in DeKalb County, and the number 8 team can.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to remember if I'd ever seen a number 8 beat a number 1. I can't remember it, but I can remember being real close. The one I remember close, of course, was one that happened to one of my teams. We had got seeded first, and we had the easiest place to go to get to the finals I'd ever seen. We got down there, and one of my kids was sick, and I didn't know it. And kids won't tell you. And well, as a matter of fact, his son's the best player at 5 now. Chris Gray, real sick. I didn't know it. The family's close to us, and of course Chris, all those boys are close to him. And I screamed at him all night long. Well, when I got home, my wife was crying. And I said, "What is wrong?" And she said, "You have screamed at Chris all night, and he's running temperature. He's sick." Nobody told me, well, tell me. And so we played the next night. I said, "Well, if you started taking antibiotics and stuff," I said, "if we're going to play, you play in the finals. If your doctor says okay." Well, that was like on Monday. Well, we don't play again until like Friday, but he still was not good, and I wouldn't play him. Well, we were about to get beat, and I look, and his mama's over there saying, "Put him in, put him in." So that's how intense things get down there, But it doesn't matter if he's running a temperature. Let's risk some brain damage here. And, it's that intense, and which just makes it one thing. I wish people come to county tournament next week. I wish you would just go into the Civic Center and look to your left up there in the blue seats, and you'll see a lot of people you don't recognize. There'll be a lot of people from other counties that just like basketball. And when I went to Butler for 3 years, I met people over there at Butler who said, "Oh yeah, we came to y'all's county tournament." They're just basketball fans, and so I think that's a really good thing. It seems like basketball, you're in football season, but it really, until we get to the county tournament, basketball really explodes then.
Yeah.
It's one thing I think about this tournament. The teams are they know their identity now. They're hitting their stride really. They've bounced back from football season. And You're actually seeing the real basketball
Yeah.
team with kids that know the plays and they're having all their plays set up and their schemes and all that. And I think that really affects how the tournament plays out. But like you said, I feel like there's always a Cinderella story in these tournaments. Maybe they don't always win, but you see
Yeah.
a 7 or 8 seed that beats a higher ranked team. I think that happens every year, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happened this year.
That could happen, but I think it's going to come down to two teams, and those two teams are going to battle it out. From everything I've seen and heard, and some research that Coach Mitchell's done, your Cinderella teams are fun, but it's going to be hard for them to win a tournament.
We were talking about, I was talking to one of the coaches the other day. One of the best interviews I saw with the national championship game, and my goodness, I was glued to the radio and TV there for a week, was Coach Dabo Sweeney. And I don't know why all of a sudden, I would not have called Coach Bryant Bear to his face, but it's okay to call Dabo and Nick. But they were being interviewed together, and they live close to each other in summertime. They have houses close to each other, and they were talking about telling their players that this was not the greatest thing they would do in their life. And they said, "Don't let this be the greatest thing you ever accomplish." And I think, looking back, particularly at when I coached, Becky said, you base your happiness too much on how your kids are playing, and I did, and I guess that's a wrong way to take it. And I think there is a kid, and I was talking to this coach and told him, I said, people coming out of the stands after a game. I had a team one time that won 5 games, and I had more people come out of the stands with that team than I did anybody else because they would give such a good effort. They would, we'd get beat 5 points and it'd just be blood on the floor. We just did the best they did. And those kids, I noticed, are still real close. And that's a Cinderella team, like we say. And I bet there'll be one, but I'm like Coach Cassidy. In all probability, he's not going to be in the finals. But
What 2 teams do you think will make it to the finals? I think I know which teams you're going to pick.
Well, I'm going to say Geraldine and Plainview. Crossville could slip in there. I don't know, but I have seen both of them play, and I tell you what, I'm impressed with the big kid at Geraldine. I think he's 6'8". He's not just a great athlete, but now he's got great hands and he can play. And if they can go through him, it'd be hard for anybody to match up with him.
New Hope's only lost 1 game this year, and Geraldine beat them. And New Hope's got the best team they probably had in 40 years. And New Hope did beat Geraldine last night, and they're tied in their area. But being around Coach Black for so long, I know he just does an excellent job with his kids. And Geraldine goes back to state championships back in the 30s, and there's really a tradition. When I was growing up, my pastor was a real good basketball player, and he played on Geraldine state championship teams. And after this was during the Depression, and after that he went down and played on Coach O'Brien's brothers' teams. They didn't do a real keeping up with the eligibility back in high school times and junior high couple. So, but it's
that's sort of like my father when he played. He would go to school after the crops were in. He'd go to school during basketball season, and he'd have to quit to help plant the crops. So he went to 9th grade about 4 straight years, and played every year, but because there was no eligibility.
Yeah.
One thing I've really noticed about this Geraldine team is their defense, how well their defense plays. They're so aggressive. They run sort of like a zone trap deal on defense. And that really I know they beat Plainview when they played, and that's one of Plainview's 3 losses, I think. And that really gave Plainview some trouble because Plainview this year is typically more of a shooting team because Coker said it himself. They basically have all guards and 1 post, and their post is really a 4 guy, not a 5 guy. So they're a really good shooting team, and I think that's really helped them out a lot this year, and that's pulled them out of some tough situations. I've seen them down 6 with the clock about to expire, and they can throw up threes and they go in because they can all shoot. And if it's really hard to close out. It's easier when it's one shooter, when you know a team has one designated shooter, and that's the key you have to shut down. But when you have 5 of them in a game, that's when it gets hard with all those back screens and everybody switching and stuff like that. And I don't believe Plainview played very well when they played Geraldine. I think that's why the score was so far apart. But I think a lot of people are really interested in to see that rematch, hopefully in the championship.
Yeah. You can, if you got a 6'8" protecting the goal, you can take a lot of risk on the outside. And it's if you got, the typical rule is if you're small, you fan defensively, you push people to sideline. If you got a big one inside, you funnel, and you can trap. And they beat you trap, and you can run the greatest offense in the world, and there's a guy back there that slaps it back in the bleachers. You think, well, that was play work really well, and it changes your whole approach to the game and gets you out of your game. But it'll be interesting. I think it'll be a game like it was last year.
You said Robbie said he had 4 guards playing. He may call them guards. Every one of them play up around the rim though. They can jump. They don't play like your typical guards.
No.
And shoot the ball very well.
Getting to watch Geraldine play, their offense, to me, it struggles at times. And that's where their 6'8" guy really bails them out. And I think this game they're going to have to get something a little better started on offense. And I watched Plainview play a very good Asbury team last night.
Yeah.
And that team was very talented. And the reason Plainview shut them down, they were losing at points in this game. But Plainview's press has started working, and that's something they never accomplished against Geraldine the first time. But that really, and they get people in foul trouble really well, and that really helps them out. So I know I'm really interested in seeing that matchup, and hopefully it'll go through.
Better get there early if those two are in the finals. And no insult to any of the other teams, but that's probably has a real great chance. Sylvania took Plainview to overtime, didn't they, in the Sand Mountain tournament? And
Yes.
I know it was real close, and like Coach said, Crossville's well coached, and I was really impressed with Sylvania's, with Tyler up there. I thought his kids were doing exactly what they could do, and they were encouraged, and they're working hard. I mean, I got a note yesterday if I'd come and work at camp. So when a coach is going into the county tournament, he's already looking to get better for next year. That impresses me. And it better impress people at Sylvania because I think they got a good one.
Oh, did they? Well, you talked a little bit about the championship game last year in this. It was a Plainview versus Geraldine. And you had the Glover, as it was so called. Isaiah jumped up and tipped that in, and he takes off high step into half court. And that's something that was really special to Plainview, I think, because that really showed that, like, hey, we're back. And Plainview basketball has really arrived, I want to say. Coker won't let him think it, but I think he's got that program where it needs to be.
I do, too. I think that was just, it's been for me, of course, it's special being at Plainview for 38 years, but I just love the attitude that the kids bring to the gym. And I've always really wanted DeKalb County basketball to get better because if we get better against each other, we're gonna go farther. And it's amazing, it's kind of like the county tournament will be so intense, but it's like two guys that go to. So my best friends in college were kids that went to Sylvania or Fort Payne or somewhere like that. When you get off at a university or something, or get off in the Army, more like it, or something like that, they become your best friends in a hurry. And that's what we're creating over here this week. I know y'all not gonna believe this, but I got a message from a referee this week, telling me how he left to call my games. I thought, he's got me confused with somebody, but it was
one of those.
but it was it's nice to see those, and those guys want to do it too, and they're so funny. Referees want to do a good job, and I remember a referee asking me, one good friend, and he said, "Terry, you don't know the rule book." And I said, "Heck no, if I knew the rule book, I might be lying because I'm just taking up for my kids." I didn't, if I knew it was the other way, I would be making something up.
I'll tell a story on Coker real quick about the refs. I was over there, and he always knows the refs' names, knows every one of his names. I say, Sonia, come here. And I got Sonia over there and said, what's that guy's name over there? And she told him his name, and he, Jake, come here. Jake walked over there and he said,
They're personal friends.
Yeah, he said, you'll never ref another game at this Coliseum as long as I'm here. And I just got here, so it's going to be a while.
Oh,
While we're talking about some players, I don't know if y'all got the opportunity to see, I believe his name's Jeffrey Armstrong, this point guard Plainview has. He's got to be, if not the best, one of the best around, I want to say in the area, not just the
This is how
county.
bad it is. Two of my point guards called me and said, look, wait a minute. I was good as this guy. Well, I don't know if you were or not. I may have some bad news for you here.
I watched.
But I tell you what I like about it. He's so unselfish.
Yeah.
He might be unselfish to the point of pain.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot the thing. And
He's so calm too in his demeanor.
Yeah.
Well,
He doesn't get rattled.
I've coached some pretty good point guards. None of them were as good as I think
yeah,
he is.
I love to
He's-
watch
he's
him.
good.
His shot's got to develop some, but now he can play on.
I believe he's
another
just a
level.
10th grader.
I don't know. I
Yeah, I
couldn't remember
think
if he's a
he is.
10th
He's a freshman
grader.
or
He's a
10th
10th
grader?
That's what
grader.
somebody
He's
told me
cool,
that
gosh.
he was a 10th grader.
Very nice young man too.
I watched them play Pisgah about a week ago, and Pisgah, you can't really describe their defense. They say, "What do you do? We trap."
And we do.
They swapped in about 3 or 4 guys, and all these guys did, their job for the whole night was to face guard him. And I was watching, and I thought, man, they're shutting this kid down. But they would throw in the ball, and he hit a corner 3. And I was like, man, they're shutting him down. But I got to look at the stat book after the game. He had 20 points, being face guarded by about 4 different people.
A really good player, you don't notice a lot of times until you get the stat book out. And I can remember getting home and thinking, why did I holler at Todd Carter all night? This is one of the best stat games he's ever had. And the numbers are a lot more specific than your observations sometimes. And coaches need to understand they're only seeing this side of the. They're not seeing the other side. And thank goodness for videos.
Since I've started being just a spectator instead of a coach, I see a lot more going on in a ball game than I used to when I was coaching.
Yeah.
Because I saw it from my side back then, but now I see what both coaches are trying to do and what the offense is trying to do and what the defense is trying to do, and it's really a lot more enjoyable now.
Yeah, it is. It's fun to see, and I tell you, and of course I'm excluding Coach Cassidy and I, but golly, coaches are a lot better now.
Yeah, they are.
And I mean, these
They know more
guys,
than
and one of it is computers never hit me till somebody mentioned to me one time. It was a Crossville football coach showed me what he was using computers for in play calling, and I thought there's got to be something here. And so computers suddenly became important to me. And I was trying to remember how far back it would go. It was in the mid-'90s. But when we started doing that, you really saw some change. And now the thing with YouTube, and if I can't sleep, I spend nights looking up YouTube for old basketball things. I thought my high school coach invented the offense we ran. And come to find out, Kentucky invented that offense. And Coach Cooley used to say, eat to live, don't live to eat. And I thought, that's a genius, No. Well, then when I was in college and you had to read Homer, one of the Greek philosophers said that. And I thought, Coach Cooley should have told us he got that from somebody else.
Well, what's it like to win one of these tournaments? What does it mean to not only you as a coach, but maybe to the team as a whole and to the fans and the town surrounding?
Well, I just, the few that I was fortunate enough to win, it was a great feeling for me, personally. But the real feeling was to watch the kids and how much it meant to them. And if you're coaching, you know how much effort they put into it. The fans don't. And it's not just you getting ready for that game. You're getting ready all year long. And these kids work hard, and that's the most, to me, was to see the kids, see them enjoy it. Because I knew how hard they worked.
I remember the first time we won the county tournament, was the best. I'm not putting anything off the others. But I can remember coming out, we played Collinsville, at Collinsville in the county tournament, both teams, and we won both of them. And I still remember getting on the bus that night, and the kids were, that was the happiest I believe I've ever seen them. I remember I told them, I said, this is the happiest I've been since Becky asked me to marry her. And that was one of the early mistakes I made, you know, and we were telling stories about wives. But after that, winning the county tournament or playing well in the county tournament was a relief. And that was kind of, I'd called a couple of coaching buddies to find out something about times that they won. And Coach Cassidy got, I thought the best run I've ever seen in the county tournament was Crossville with Tracy Hogan. I knew Tracy, Coach Cassidy hired Tracy Hogan when he was about 12 years old. I mean, it seemed like Tracy was out of high school, and then all of a sudden he was coach at Crossville. But I remember, I thought, I knew I was in trouble one night because he sat down to me at a game and he said, why do you use the motion baseline picks like Duke does instead of the ones like Indiana does? And I thought, oh no, this is bad. And you know, because I mean, that was, you got to be pretty sharp to recognize something like that. And I don't know if I answered, I probably lied to him, but I knew right then. And sure enough, we played Tracy, had real good teams, and but I had done a little thing against his team, and almost beat them the year before, and they were a lot better than we were. They wound up beating us 3 points. We played them 3 more times the next year, and I never did this again. And it was a way to keep the ball from getting to post and getting a shot, and they had a 6-7 post. And I thought, if he beats us 100 points, I'm not using that till the area tournament. And of course, there was a way to beat it, and a real easy way. We jumped in that, you know, I thought I got him now. And we jumped in that the first quarter. He recognized it in about 3 seconds, and he put 2 guys at the short corner and moved his post about mid-post up. Of course, we couldn't guard all 3 of them and trap 2. I thought they never would quit raining threes. I was mad the rest of the night. I said, I have let Tracy Hogan outsmart me. But you know, most coaches would not have looked back 5 games ago to see what you ran against them. By George, he had.
Well, Tracy, when I went to Crossville, the basketball coach left to go to Collinsville to be the guidance counselor. So that was the first hire I had to make. And that was in, I think, about 1st of August. And Tracy comes in, a little resume. He looks like he's a grade school kid, you know. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, you know, I'll interview him and be done with him and hunt me a basketball coach. About 2 hours later, when he got up to leave, I thought, that's the guy I want. And so I never did interview anybody else. And Tracy came, I guess it was 91 when he came. And he stayed to 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
So he had a great run there. And Tracy was just, he was a whole lot better coach than I was. And I recognized that pretty quick.
And his kids, even when he got there, he didn't have enough to start a fight with.
Oh, they were beautiful.
And great kids, and some of them are real successful coaches now.
Well, one of them is assistant coach over at Plainview, Stanley Williams.
Yes, and but boy, he is a real good one. I hope
Yeah.
nobody discovers him, so we get to keep him. And then one is Coach Benefield's coach, assistant coach
Edge.
at 5. Yeah, Coach Edge. And but we play them. I'd always congratulate the Crossville kids because we'd beat them 3 points when we was about 15 or 20 better than they were. And then, golly, when he started getting those kids that he brought up out of his program, and I still think maybe the best basketball player that came out of here played at, man, I can't think of his name, it's a senior moment again. The kid that played at in Nashville, at Belmont.
Oh,
Hedgepath.
Hedgepath.
Mitch.
He's the only kid I can ever remember. Of course, I was acquainted with his dad. I'm so old. I remember when his dad played at Sneed. And he was the only kid I ever watched from the 3rd grade up. Every time you see Mick, he was better than the last time you saw him. I've never so Becky and I went to see him play at Melmont because I just wanted to see how he lined up, and it was the same thing. I told Becky, I said, he's better again. Never seen, and they tell me now he can come in and do coaching clinics. I think he's smart enough not to go into coaching, but they say he just comes in and just works wonders with kids.
When I was a senior at Plainview, it was Robbie Coker's first year, and he told us we was going to have somebody come in and coach us, and guy walked in, and he just kind of...
He's about 6'7".
And he was showing us these drills, and it was just a little drop step drill, and he put the ball on the foul line. He said, you grab it, you drop step, slammed it. I raised my hand. He said, you got a question? I said, that took you one step. That takes me about 3, and I'm tall. But he really is. He was so good at that camp, just helping people learn, helping us teach.
Generally speaking, parents should stay out of coaching. But now his dad was, and he and Tracy were real good friends, and his dad was very knowledgeable and worked him and gave him the opportunities to get better. And but he's just a terrific kid, and I think he even thought about going to.
I think he went
Europe.
overseas and
Yeah,
played for a while.
Did he play
I
some?
believe in Spain.
Oh, okay.
And I remember Coker was on the other end with the guards, and I can't remember what they did. I think it was Brett Bobo. But one of them had just ticked Coker off beyond belief.
It was Brett.
So they're down there, and they're just running their guts out. Of course, all the posts are on the other end. There's only about 4 of us. And Hedgepath looked at us, and he said, well, guys, that's all I got. But I'll try to think of something so y'all don't got to go down there. I was like, I'd
So
sure
you don't have to
appreciate
go out
that.
like a crazy person.
Yeah.
I tell you, the best athlete Tracy ever had, though, was Bolden.
Oh gosh, yeah. Whew.
He was.
He's in the Sports Hall of Fame as a football player.
No, that's his brother.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me which one you're talking about.
I'm talking about the younger.
Oh yes, the one that played outside.
Yeah.
God, I didn't remember that was his brother.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about this tournament. It's been fun, and I hope the viewers enjoyed this. But let's hear, we know all of us have pretty much decided that we think it's going to be Plainview Geraldine. But let's hear how you think the game's going to go and what each team needs to do to win.
I'm going to let Terry answer that one.
We don't want to do that. I won't go back. You're as bad as we are, Leonard. But by the way, your Alzheimer's is obviously kicks in young. That last story started because I wanted Coach to tell. I thought one of the greatest runs in the county tournament. And meanwhile, I'm stalling, trying to figure out what I got to do.
I've got it.
But Coach has got the statistics there with that run with Crossville.
In 2000, Crossville beat Collinsville, and that was a real famous game because with 3 minutes to go in the game, Crossville was leading to either 2 or 3 points. Collinsville was driving on a fast break. Power goes off. So the kid goes on in and lays it up. And makes it, we think. I mean, you can see very well.
If it'd been my kid, I would know he made it.
So what happened, we had an ice storm. And we were trying to get the game finished. We were hosting it, and we were trying to get it finished before, but we couldn't. Well, we had to come back about a week later and play that last 3 minutes. And then there was a controversy about where that last goal counted. Or were we 3 points ahead, or were we 1 point ahead?
Oh my goodness!
And so, what's your film man? Can't think.
Darryl Gray.
Darryl Gray. We got him and ran the tape, and the kid, Collinsville, had the ball at half court when the power went off. So that's where they started the game back.
How about
giving
that?
them the ball at half court, and Crossville ended up beating them 56-51. That's 2000. In 2001, they beat 5. They must have had a couple of bad years because they didn't win it again to 2004. Beat Geraldine, 2005 beat Ider, 2006 beat Ider, 2007 beat Collinsville, 2008 beat Ider, and 2009 beat Ider. So that's a pretty good run.
I thought that was one of the best streaks. The other one was Collinsville when Coach Neil Thrash was at Collinsville. And I had asked him what years that was, and he said it was 94, 95, 96, and 97. He won in a row. Now, let me tell you why that happened. Well, besides him being a real good coach and those kids playing really hard, he taught elementary PE during those 3 years, And those kids came up in his elementary PE program, and they were able to. He taught fundamentals and let them play and stuff, and that is so important. But it's hard to play 22 on 22 in a PE program. But you know, if you got small classes, you can do some of that. I texted him back. This is not one of my favorite stories, but I told him, I said, I remember now in '94, you beat us in 2 overtimes and you cheated. And then he texted me back and said, yeah, and you cheated me in '98 and '99. So I'd forgotten about that. But I remember that night because I think we'd won the county tournament for a couple of years in a row. In '94, we were in the second overtime, and they had scored to go up 1, and there were just seconds left, and we wanted to get the ball to midcourt. And so we had a play to get it to midcourt, and you're supposed to catch it and call timeout on the way down, so you don't run. You know, sometimes you'll actually not even get a second off the clock, and it's something we practiced. And we also had to play. If we had more than 5 seconds on it, there was a play out of it. That same guy that caught it hit a guy on a curl, and then another guy off the run into what we call the dot. And so I used my last time out, and 2 of my friends was calling, or as good as friends as Terry from Gerald, Terry Harris, and another buddy of mine I played against in high school, Parker from Grand. So Parker comes over in my huddle, and he says, Coach, you hadn't got any more timeouts. And I said, I know it. And I told every one of the kids, I said, no more timeouts, so we're not running. We're not going to run the catch, you know, and call timeout. We're going to go ahead and we'll run the whole play. Everybody know it? Yep, everybody know it. But I reckon we practiced that so much that when we threw it down there and the kid, y'all would know him. I'm not going to use Jeff's name. But he caught that ball and did just what I had coached him to do. On the way down, he called timeout. And Parker, the referee, was standing out. Now, I can't tell you exactly what he said to me, but I was standing up, and Parker turned around to me and said, you moron, I just told you it was out of timeout. That wasn't exactly what he said. And I said, yep, and you heard me tell him too. I didn't want him to blame it on me. But they went and made the free throws and beat us. Well, this is how important it was. I'm disgusted. I think we'd won the tournament a couple of years in a row, and I thought we, had a good chance of winning it. Obviously, 2 overtimes. Well, I'm down there in the office of the Civic Center, so depressed. I'm suicidal. I'm so depressed I might not even eat ice cream.
Uh-oh.
And all of a sudden, Coach, there's a lot of noise in the Collinsville dressing room, and all of a sudden, Coach Thrash appears in the door. And he is wringing wet from head to toe. And he said, you got to give me something to wear home. I said, why are you so wet? He said, they threw me in the shower. I said, I don't care if you die. I said, you want me to give you something wet? I don't, you drive home. Well, anyway, I had to give him a sweatsuit. I said, sorry, you beat a man, cheat a guy out of a game, and then you have to give, I don't think I ever got the sweatsuit back. And you remember stuff like that. I don't remember cheating in '98, '99. But it's funny, those 2 years in a row in the '99 county tournament, we had to cancel the games on Friday because of storms.
Yeah.
We came in and had to play 2 games on Saturday. So there's something interesting going to happen.
Usually the week of the county tournament, there's bad weather. I mean, it's just been historically like a snowstorm or ice storm or threat of it anyway.
Can you think of, or any of y'all think of the teams that won it that were not supposed to win it? It's seldom that it's a real upset in the finals.
But the most sick feeling you'll ever have as a coach is to get beat when you're favored to win it.
Yes.
Now that's, and I've seen that a time or two when it's 2 or 3 teams that are
Pretty close.
Good, pretty close. Mm-hmm. But if you're seated number 1 and you don't win, that's a bad feeling.
I'm proud in the Sand Mountain tournament they've gone back to voting for the best team. The seeding, I think that's more fair. I don't exactly know how they're doing the county. I should have asked them this year if they're voting or if they're going on. It's kind of hard to go on regular season games because everybody doesn't play everybody. I thought the year that Coach Thrash moved to and Coach Cassidy asked me a while ago, Coach Thrash had been so successful at Collinsville, why he went to 5. And I said, we went to Fife because I talked him into it. And so he said, well, I'm sure he's proud of you. And and he had been so successful. But that was one of the times that I thought when Coach Thrash, when he won the county at Fife had not won the county tournament in 30 years. And I don't think they had won it previously for 30 years. I think the last time they had won it was back when Coach Traylor and Bunk Willingham and them, and they actually got an audio tape of a radio did that. And I know this because I got to listen to it. Ralph Dawson played on that team, and when you couldn't hardly understand what the radio announcer said, who scored, Bunk would always say that was me. So we figured that Bunk must have about 30 points that time, but we couldn't really pull it out like that. But it'd been long spans in there, and I know Fife had a real good team in '85. They beat us in the finals, and it'd been a long span. It was 30 more years till before they won. Fife won it again, and I thought that was a real upset year. I thought of winning. I think Fife won the Sand Mountain tournament and county tournament, which had not been ever done in that school, and won the area and wound up ranked 7th in the state.
That was my senior year. They won
Yeah, it was.
all three.
Yeah, and that was, I thought that was really amazing.
Now, they had a good team. I don't know if they won it. It was the year that we had them all in camp that summer. Babe and
Yes, that's the year they won it.
okay.
Yeah.
Now they
Babe,
really had a good team that year.
yeah, Coach Cass and I found out a way, staying by the rules, that we could have a scrimmage camp, and we had done. This is how life works. When I started at Plainview, started coaching Plainview in the early '70s, I did a camp every summer. I charged the kids $1 a day, and the $1 was to buy them a Coca-Cola. And we'd stay there from 9 till 3. Well, I'd been doing this for 4 or 5 years. Well, Coach Cassidy came up one day. He said, let's do a camp at Pisgah and do a camp at Plainview. Now, this is in the '70s, y'all. He said, let's charge $35 a piece. And I said, well, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. $35 a piece. I'm charging them $1 a day, and I'm getting about 20 kids. I swear to you, we charged $35. We had 100 kids. Yeah. And so I reckon they thought, well, them guys must be smart.
if they're gonna charge us, they're gonna teach us more.
Yeah. Well, that year we figured out a way under the State Athletic Association rules to have a scrimmage camp, and so we really just played. One day we played 4 games. We found out that was too many, so we played 3 games a day for a week. And Coach, I always remember it because the worst team in it was Coach Brooks's team, and they were the Pink Flamingos. And he said, Coach Brooks always asked me, he said, how do you remember that? I said, how could you forget the Pink Flamingos? And then we had an all-star game on the Friday night and filled the gym up. And so we knew that, there's some out there now. So summer basketball is as big as winter basketball is, but not as big as the county tournament. I think the county tournament is big. But the Crossville, the Collinsville, and the Fife, those were 2 runs that didn't involve my teams that I remembered. I remember Coach Graham and Coach Dobbins had some pretty good runs over the years, but I can't remember winning several in a row, but they were always. Yeah. In the '90s, there's a decade somewhere in the '90s and '80s that my teams were in the finals 8 out of 10 years, but I don't think we won it but like twice. So I figured the kids got us to the finals, and then the coaching got us beat in the finals. So that's typically the way it goes.
We're talking about runs. I don't want to throw Plainview's name out there too early. But if you look at their team this year, I believe they have 2 seniors, and Will Kirk's been hurt. And they have the potential to make a run. I know they won it last year, and they're projected to be in the finals this year. And all those kids, if he can bring some posts in with that team.
They have a good recruiting year.
I'm just building some apartments.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to be telling tales out of school, but Will Kirk will be back for the county tournament if all goes as planned. He is cleared as of today.
Is that right? Great. Right. I am proud for him.
I'm proud for him.
Will's dad and uncles all played for me, and I tell him that I'm still ashamed of hollering at Todd as much as I did. But in coaching, this is the way. First of all, if you like, I had the cameraman in school, but I also had his older brother. Well, I only have one name for each family, and so you have to you continue to be that name. Well, Will's dad's name was Todd, and it still is, by the way. And his uncle's name was Scott. And so Todd, I never called him Todd, I just called him Scott. And he said, I'm Todd. And I said, okay. And then I had Todd Carter come along and play. And one night after game, he walked in, he said, why do you constantly call me Scott? And I said, well, it's a long story. But, your mind works so quickly. I don't know how these, I've noticed football coaches, they've got around it. Most football coaches don't even know who plays for them. They only call them by numbers. Hey, yeah. 31. I think they think that will help them in court. When they say, you call this child, well, I ain't call nobody nothing. I call number 31.
Well, my nickname in high school was Radar, and I was the manager for you, and that's kind of how that got started. Thanks for that, by the way.
Yeah.
And I've
got mamas out there that still hate my guts.
None of the coaches even knew my name.
My daughter's 40 years old, and she still goes by Pockets when she's around him. He gave her that nickname.
I'm sorry. I've nicknamed my own child, so I mean, what can you do?
I think I ended up with like 6 or 7 nicknames by the time I
Leonard
got to high
I
school.
can't remember why I started calling you Leonard, but that was. I think that's a
it was
word.
Leonard and Steakhouse was one and Radar.
Logan.
Depending on what year the kid graduated is depending on what name I have to refer to. So, one thing we want to do before we leave is I want you guys to pick a winner.
Golly, those are my two boys. Coaching.
Well, I'm going to say it'll come down between one of 8 teams. That's
We don't want you to give too much away now. We may have to edit that part out. But
I think it's going to come down between Geraldine and Plainview. And I think right now, it's probably a toss-up. I don't think you could pick one over the other right now.
You got to understand with Cale and Robbie, Coach Black and Coach Coker,
which are 2 Crossville boys.
2 Crossville boys. Robbie grew up, when Coach Black was a senior in high school. It had a change in coaching, and he was the only shooter, so he literally shot the ball. That's their entire offense was to get him open. So Robbie, Coach Cale was Robbie's hero, and then Robbie coached with him. So they think alike. Cale Black, I hate to brag on him. I'll only do it because I love his children. But he has if you'll watch him go scout a game, he doesn't write anything down. Well, I'm so dumb, I have to write 15 sheets and study it for 12 hours.
Do like I did. I used to write all that down and get back. It's like,
what is that? But Cale has a photographic memory. He's a great mathematician. I watched him wire a house one time. He didn't label any of the wires. I said, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. You're going to turn the vacuum cleaner on and blow out the hot water heater. But he has such a memory, and he doesn't forget. And Robbie is coached with him so long. He knows the tendencies, and they know each other, and they're best of friends. But I tell you, that's a game I really wish, if it gets down to that, they'd move it to a Monday night or something, to where that's the only game you went to. Yeah. Because I tell you, people old like me, it's hard to go. I love to watch those younger kids. Man, they got so much fight in them. Those junior high and junior varsity kids. I love to watch it. But it's really hard to sit 5 hours in the stands or even in a good chair. And so it's, but I'm telling you, you better be ready to watch a lot of games if those two are in the finals. Another one of my kids coaches at Ider, and I talked with him. He's got a really young team. I did not get to talk with the coach at Valley Head, but I know they're really.
I think they're struggling.
Yeah, I think they've had a tough time, and. But I know there's a couple of good players at Ider, so maybe they're going to get better.
Crossville could be one of those
that surprise somebody,
knock somebody out of the tournament.
What bracket are they in, Coach?
Let's see. They're in with Geraldine. They play Fife first.
Okay.
And
Well,
Fife
that's-
plays, Geraldine plays Valley
Well, I
Head.
tell you what, now across from Geraldine would be a good thing. I taught Fife. They're just now getting where they can warm up correctly. I assume because when your football season is long as theirs is, and I don't think people understand. I heard Coach Saban talk about how tired their kids were coming into the national championship game. So they had great spirits. Their legs are just a little out, and so I know Fife's kids suffered that, and it's hard to be really great shooters. I do know they've got a couple of players. I know I mentioned Chad Gray because his granddad and Butch and I are always been close friends, and then of course Chris played for me. Chris Gray is one of the smartest basketball players I've ever had. I mean, he was literally. And his son plays a lot like him, but as Chad told me, I'm faster than Dad was. That's where you are. And Chad's a good player, and he carries them a lot of nights. He's not a football. He doesn't play football, and he's a real hero to me because he's a type 1 diabetic, and it's not an excuse. He doesn't mean me. I paper cut. I'm out 2 weeks, and we don't. And Coach Cash and I said we try to check up on girls. We really don't know anything. But I know Sylvania's got a good team.
Sylvania's girls beat Pisgah's girls.
Oh, they did.
And North Sand Mountains the next day.
And, okay, so
They're pretty good.
And I watched Pisgah play Plainview the other night. Pisgah has got a ninth grader that can play. No, I don't know her name, number 2. If you saw him play,
I believe she's a guard, isn't she?
Yeah, she plays point. And what got my attention, she stole the ball and went down and left at the foul line and went up and then reversed it.
I saw that.
And I thought, whoa, I need to find out who that is. And I was sitting with Bill Beard and I asked him, and he said, she's the first player that has ever reminded me of Wallace Tinker, the way he played.
That's quite a
I was watching that game, and my girlfriend was sitting beside me, and I watched that girl go up and reverse it and come around, and I went, ooh, that's a good move. And she hit me, and she turned around and looked at me, and I said, what? And she said, well, who is that? I said, I don't know. That was just a good move. I didn't say nothing the rest of the game. I was quiet the rest of the game.
Oh, you're in that situation. You got to understand you're going to lose. Coach and I have been married almost 50 years, and we were still trying
But not
to.
each other.
Not each other. Although I do know a couple now. But you're not going to lose all those battles. Sooner you get used to it, the better off you're going to be.
The best thing, just say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just bit my tongue the rest
I'm
of the
sorry, you were wrong. But
If something happens in China, I go home and say, I'm sorry.
well, we were both blessed. Great. When I started coaching, Coach Cooley, my high school coach, told Becky, and Becky thought he was just like the sweetest person in the world. I said, you don't know that man. I know him. And but he told me, he said, you will be whether or not Terry's successful, will be you, and that's true. I saw coaches that unless your family's involved, you got to get out right then. And these guys have really. My wife hated losing as bad as I did, and she didn't care how many hours. My daughter's married to a coach, and so she doesn't know there's any other way to make a living. Mm-hmm. That she just assumes that you work 16 hours.
My
a day.
wife had never been to a basketball game. I started coaching. It may have been 2 or 3 games into the season. Some guy was sitting in the stands, and he was calling me everything he could think of. How sorry a coach I was. Well, she didn't know that fans have that right. Ooh, she got down, and when the game was over, the guy came and apologized to me. And I had to go home and say, this is part of it. You can't react to it. So.
My wife will kill me, especially this being on tape, but
on TV too.
On TV, yeah. Let's get it out in the open. But she won't watch a lot of college games, but she will watch Alabama or Auburn. And when I found out a long time ago that Eli Gold is anywhere from 5 to 15 seconds ahead of the television. And this is when Facebook first came out, and that's where I get my opinions of life out, the correct opinions I might have. And I was sitting at the end of the sofa in my study and watching the game, and she came in, of course, brought me snacks, and I had an earplug on the left side, and I was listening to Eli Go and Alabama play, and it was about anywhere from 10, 15 seconds that day ahead. And I didn't overplay the hand, which I know y'all not going to believe, but I didn't. I realized I had something special here. Mm-hmm. And Becky was sitting there watching, and I would hear the color commentator, and I can't remember, I don't think Coach Stapler, Snake was still doing it, but the color commentator would tell the play and why it was successful. So there I am, 10 seconds ahead, and I tell Becky, I think I only did it like 5 times. I tell Becky, I say, you know, if we'd run a wheel route back to the middle, that linebacker's moved up too quick, we could score. And of course, that would happen. And Becky didn't say anything about it. And I did it 4 more times. I would say 5 was the maximum. When the game was over, Becky got up and she was going out the door, and she turned back to me and she said, you know, you probably should have kept coaching football. I believe you've been better at that than you were at basketball. I said, yeah. Well, Facebook, this is where the problem happened. I thought that was the funniest thing I had ever seen, so I got on Facebook and told everybody what I did, which, by the way, with the exception of the snake getting on me, has been the most liked story I've ever told. I didn't say anything to Becky. Somebody comes by Becky's office on Monday laughing and said, "That crazy Terry, I couldn't believe what he did to you." She said, "What did he do to me?" "Listen, you talking about a mad woman. Buddy, I was in serious trouble." I think she'd be about the same mad about 6 o'clock tonight when she might see this video.
Well, all right, still got to get your pick. I'm still waiting on that.
Oh, you're still waiting on the pick?
Yes, sir.
Well, I keep looking at these, and I really do think unless there's I think it's just going to be hard to not be Geraldine and Plainview. Although one of the things when they're 2 heavy favorites like that, one of the things that I've seen is it really makes the other kids play loosely, and so that might happen. And the Crossville 5 aren't they in that same?
Yeah.
That probably going to be a really good game, and that could be a game that gets out. If you're got the courage, fans dictate a lot of times. Fans love to see fast basketball and stuff, and that never bothered me what fans liked. And before the 3-point line, and when we had a back court situation, that 3-point line and having to have all 3 feet across the mid court, that used to be a real press advantage. And but I used to, if I got ahead of you, and we were always could play better against man, we would always just go out there and hold it against a team, particularly we thought were better than we were. And if a team has that kind of courage to try something like that, like I said, it's not a popular thing with fans, but that may be a way that somebody could damage Geraldine. Particularly, I don't think that would work well against Plainview because of their size, speed, and smallness.
Well, and Plainview loves to play man
and they'll come
pressure
get you.
Yeah. They won't wait till you come to them.
I was asking one of my boys is Coach Coker's assistant coach, and Coach Coker plays man defense differently than what we did, and I asked him about. Did he like that? And Coach Coker and I have talked a lot about it, and he said he didn't see a great deal of difference because coaches don't take advantage of the way that they do that, and I won't let out any more than that. But there is ways. Every defense has a particular weakness, and the weakness I would think against Geraldine is making them spread their perimeter people so far out and so extended that it takes the middle guy, he has to come out a little far. As long as he can stay within 8 feet of that basket, you're in trouble.
Another thing, I'm wondering if Will Kirk playing is going to be
It'll help
a big
him a lot.
difference maker there.
It'll help
If
him a
he's
lot.
ready to play. And of course now, it's hard to set out as long as he has and,
Yeah.
and be right in full form. So it's going to take him a while. to
How
get
much
back
did he
into
miss
it.
last year?
Good bit. I don't want to say he's very injury prone, but he's one of the. He has such great athletic ability, especially for his body shape.
Yeah.
But I think we're about out of time here, so we're about to have to wrap it
Gosh,
up.
well, our agent will be in touch with you.
Yeah. By the way,
We'll-
Jimmy Sexton is representing us.
Is that it?
now.
Me, Butch, Jeremy, and Nick Saban.
Okay.
We're all in the same group.
All right, well, it's been fun, and hopefully you guys enjoy this as much as we have. And hopefully you'll keep tuning in and seeing us.
Don't tell Becky I told that story.